Good evening. I'm Jessica Moore.
And I'm Christine Johnson. It has been well over 24 hours since the stunning attack on the former president, and we have learned new information on several fronts tonight.
Right now, former President Trump is in Milwaukee ahead of this week's Republican National Convention. Supporters looked on as his motorcade arrived earlier this evening. Here's a live look at the arena where the convention will be held. Security is tight, as you can imagine, and the Secret Service says it is confident in their plan.
And some new details now about the assassination attempt. Investigators say explosives were found inside the 20-year-old shooter's home and vehicle, but tonight the motive remains unclear. We have team coverage from Pennsylvania to here at home of this unprecedented moment in history. Let's begin with CBS 2's Derek Waller. Derek?
And Christine, Jessica, President Biden made a rare speech tonight from the Oval Office, urging calm and calling for political disagreements to be settled at the ballot box.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics.
President Biden calling for unity just over 24 hours after a would-be assassin tried to kill his political rival. That bullet, federal investigators say, was intended for Trump, just missed.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, or for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized.
Trump is now in Milwaukee, the Republican National Convention beginning as scheduled Monday. But at this rural Pennsylvania firehouse, time stands still.
He was a family-loving, God-fearing man.
50-year-old retired Buffalo Township volunteer fire chief Corey Comparatori died a hero, witnesses at the rally say, shielding his family from the bullets.
He was a man that was full of love. There's too much hate going on right now, and we don't need to make this about hate at all. It's just hug your family, keep them close. That's what he would do.
And Comparatori is survived by his wife, you just saw there, his high school sweetheart, and also their 2 daughters. And there were 2 other people also shot at that rally, 74-year-old James Copenhaver and 57-year-old David Dutch, both of whom remain in critical but stable condition.
Derek, thank you.
And here's a look now at the timeline of yesterday's shooting. Donald Trump took the stage in Pennsylvania at 6:03 p.m. As he spoke, the gunman took aim from around 410 feet away. The first gunshots were heard at 6:11 p.m. This photo capturing the moment a bullet flew by Trump's head. Within seconds, Secret Service agents surrounded him. The former president was rushed into a waiting SUV 2 minutes after the shots were fired. Tonight, the FBI is conducting investigations into the shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, as well as the security plan for Saturday's rally.
And there are already calls for the head of the Secret Service to answer questions on Capitol Hill. CBS 2 investigator Masa Saidi is live at the scene now of the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where that site remains a crime scene. Masa.
Christine, Jessica, considering what just happened here, it is oddly quiet in this town tonight. I can tell you that people have been driving by, honking, yelling the former president's name. I want to direct your attention to this building because that is where we are told this shooter was set up. We're learning more about him tonight. He was a registered Republican. At one point, he donated $15 to a Democratic cause. But I want to be clear. Tonight, the FBI says the motive is unknown.
I'm the Secret Service's RNC coordinator.
Tonight, the U.S. Secret Service under intense scrutiny. At a news conference about preparations at the RNC, reporters questioned the agency on the epic and deadly security failure at former President Trump's rally.
I'd refer any questions regarding yesterday's incident to our D.C. Public Affairs Office.
CBS News has learned the shooter was approximately 410 feet away from the former president. The FBI identifies him as Thomas Matthew Crooks. Video obtained by TMZ shows the 20-year-old on his stomach, a semi-automatic rifle in his hand, pointed straight at the stage. Witnesses say they saw him before shots were fired.
What did you say to law enforcement?
There's a guy on the roof, there's a gun. We just kept running and the cops just kept circling the building.
Tonight, Crooks' cell phone is at FBI headquarters in Quantico, Virginia. FBI analysts working to gain access to it. Sources tell CBS News Crooks' family is cooperating. For now, there's no indication of a mental health issue, and it's believed he acted alone. Crooks graduated high school in 2022. He worked at a local nursing home, and recently he earned an associate's degree in engineering and science.
He was quiet, but he was nice to me whenever I talked to him in class. He was a good student. My history teacher loved him.
Like, you could look at him and you would be like, something's a little off. That's how I could describe it.
How did this happen? How does somebody get the opportunity?
Retired Special Agent Michael Harrigan spent 22 years at the FBI. As the protective detail of 2 attorneys general, he's worked closely with the Secret Service. Harrigan says protocol requires nearby buildings get checked, then secured.
Either somebody failed to check that area, to consider that area, or the second issue may have been limited resources, but that was close enough and obvious enough. It should have been covered.
Why weren't they on that guy? If I heard that they had actually gone up on the roof, that somebody had seen, some spectators seen him going up the roof, well, why didn't they like get on it? And there were people talking about it, and he was like, well, we told them and no one listened. So where?
And so many questions remain here tonight. Law enforcement tells us that this weapon, this AR-style rifle, was purchased legally by the shooter's father. And right now they are working to establish how it ended up in the hands of the shooter.
Masa, earlier we mentioned that explosive devices were found in the suspect's car and also his family home, which the FBI has confirmed. What more do we know about that?
Yeah, Christine, they are being described as suspicious devices. They are being described as basic or unsophisticated, and they are also at FBI headquarters tonight for analysis.
All right, Masa Saidi. Masa, thank you.
Security will be tight in Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention gets underway without delay tomorrow. More than 50,000 politicians, delegates, media, and others will all be in attendance. CBS 2's Lisa Rosner spoke with New York delegates there now.
A joint threat assessment from the FBI, Secret Service, and Milwaukee police calls for heightened awareness at the Republican National Convention. It's expected to bring 50,000 people to town, including 90 delegates from New York, including Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman.
It reminded me that just about 3 weeks ago, I was on stage with him at a rally in the South Bronx, and everybody was so excited to see him and hear him speak. And when you see what happened yesterday, it's something that should never happen here in America. I will be with him at the convention, and I think it's going to be a very, very different type of convention.
I do believe that this was a lone wolf, isolated incident. We met as a conference earlier today by phone. They are taking extra precautions to keep everyone safe.
Ed Cox is New York State Chairman for the Republican National Committee.
He's a fighter, always have been, and that came out very strongly. And it certainly has his supporters, and the people are gathering here at the convention. I got to say, it was already very enthusiastic, but it's going to really be over the top.
Before making his way to Milwaukee in a private plane Sunday evening from Newark Airport, the former president was at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, where supporters waved flags outside.
I think, if anything, his protection's going to get ramped up, and, there's just going to be even that much more security around him.
We need to be more respectful, get back to being kind and decent, and that's my hope for this election.
Republican delegates tell me they believe this will further unite the party, and they hope Americans across the political spectrum. Lisa Rosner, CBS 2 News.
Supporters gathered outside Trump Tower today as city and interfaith leaders denounced the attack on the former president. They say the hateful rhetoric must stop. CBS 2's Naveen Dhaliwal has more on that and more on the security in Midtown.
Immediately after the assassination attempt, security was beefed up here at Trump Tower. And now the mayor says there's no credible threat, but the NYPD is keeping a close eye. Traffic moving and mostly calm at Trump Tower on 5th Avenue Sunday night, a day after the shocking assassination plot against the former president.
And it was just a sick thing that never should happen.
The anger and disappointment fully on display on the streets of New York.
This is not America. This is not what we believe in. We're against violence, and And that's it. We got to put a stop to it.
A sentiment of unification for Trump supporters. Reinhardt drove all the way from South Jersey. Rachel Castillo from Hoboken.
We have to stop fighting, stop arguing, realize that we have our differences, but let's talk about our differences.
That appears to be the consensus, that toxic political rhetoric is at dangerous levels.
That is not acceptable, and it's not who we are as a country.
Mayor Eric Adams, along with interfaith and city leaders, stood shoulder to shoulder despite their political background, denouncing the attack and saying bullets don't settle differences.
Violence is wrong, no matter who you oppose.
They say in the city of New York, that is Donald Trump's former hometown, it's time to restore civility and respect for one another.
I support Donald Trump. It's more difficult for other people to do that. So I commend anyone who's willing to come out and say enough's enough. The rhetoric has got to cool.
When asked about their own political rhetoric, city and local leaders appear to agree that they'll be more guided. They further say they'll denounce violent rhetoric as soon as it gets out of hand. In Midtown, Naveen Dhaliwal, CBS 2 News.
We will continue to keep you updated on the assassination attempt against former President Trump on air and streaming on CBS News New York. Look for continuing coverage tomorrow on CBS 2 News This Morning. That begins at 4:30 a.m.